Well, speaking of, what was the topic?
Why
we love games? No, the one we just did.
Okay, yeah, that's why we play video.
Why we play video games. Since we're talking about this, let's talk about our top 5 favorite games of all time.
Right.
We haven't done a list like this. I think we've talked about like what our favorite games are, but I think there's a difference between, we were talking about this as well, the best games ever made and our particularly favorite games.
Yeah.
As an example, I would come to say that the game, I haven't played it, but I've heard it's fantastic, is Dying Light. It's a fantastic game. By no means is it going to be on the list of anybody's best games of all time. However, could be on the list of somebody's favorite game.
Yeah.
Favorite games,
yeah.
due to the entertainment factor. So this isn't a list of the best, our opinion, the best games ever made. This is a list of our favorite games ever made. So now that we have shown the difference between the two, we're gonna have throw some honorable mentions in there, and starting from 5 and counting our way down. What is your number? We can go back and forth.
That's what I was thinking we'd do. Okay.
And while you tell me, I'm just gonna go.
Okay. Just double check on the camera. Yeah, we definitely want to make sure everything's working properly for our viewers out there.
We're good.
Okay. So now when you called me immediately after I'd woken up from my ritual, which is my Sunday nap after I get home from work on Sunday afternoons, and you called me and told me that, and I immediately started thinking of stuff, but I was half asleep. So I know, without a shadow of a doubt, the top 5 I have are definitely my 5 favorite games of all time, because if they weren't these, I wouldn't have thought of them, because that's why all my honorable mentions I want to mention are things I really had to think about that I know I enjoyed extensively. But these are my top. I mean, I'm not going to name obviously all of them at once. We're going to take turns, but starting with number 5, going down to 1, obviously what we're doing. Number 5, my five favorite game of all time. My starting with number 5, my favorite game of all time would be Halo 3.
Halo 3.
And I mean, I guess we're gonna talk about why a little bit, but
let me know.
Ever since the first Halo game I ever played was Halo 2, and I can't even tell you what it is, but Halo has always had a very special place on my heart. One, because I still love competitive shooters, but I'm not invested in them nearly as much as I used to be, like when we were in high school and middle school. But I still enjoy them thoroughly, and I still have a passion for competitive shooters, and Halo has always been that number 1 for me. And I obviously, classic Halo 2 would be like split screen with your friends playing on like Lockout and stuff, like which is like three other of your buddies. And I remember doing like across the street, my friend Jordan, it would be like 2 different TV screens, 4 people on each one, and we just duke it out for hours and hours and hours on Halo 2. That's originally what sparked my love for Halo was Halo 2, and then I purchased Halo 1 on PC, like I think a year after that, and played all the way through Halo 1, and played a ton of multiplayer in Halo 1 on PC and stuff. I love that. And then obviously Halo 3, I'd never had so much until, I've had more hype for games that have come out after Halo 3, but leading up to that point, I'd never been so excited for a game in my entire life than Halo 3. And I remember this is around the time where I was getting to the age where my parents didn't mind if I played M video games. I know some kids might think that's crazy. Like, your parents didn't let you play M-rated games when you were a kid?
Mine didn't.
Yeah, believe it or not, they didn't. It's funny, when I'll only briefly talk about this, but the first M game I ever played in my life was SOCOM US Navy SEALs, the original one on PS2, and the only reason my dad let me get it was because it was like a Navy Army game. He's like, well, and my dad's really into World War II, he's like a history buff, and he's like, well, since it's like U.S. military related, I guess you can play it. And I remember there being like blood and stuff in the game. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like probably 9 years old when I played it, but that's beside the point. But anyway, so obviously I knew Halo 3 was coming out, and there's that beta that came out with Crackdown 1 or 2. It was
Crackdown 1. Yes.
Yeah, the original Crackdown had the Halo 3 beta on it, and I watched hours and hours and hours of gameplay of that beta, and I was like, that looks so unbelievably awesome. Like, I have to play this. And I begged and begged and begged my parents to let me get Crackdown, which was also rated M, just so I could play the beta. I didn't give the slightest crap about Crackdown. And I wanted
it turned out to be a pretty good game.
It did, yeah. I remember playing a demo for it on Xbox 360, I think, later on, but I begged them, and they're like, well, we'll go talk to GameStop about it. So we go
that's what you want to do.
Yeah, so we went and talked to GameStop about it. And this guy, I don't know if he was just doing this because he could tell my mom didn't want to buy this game for me, but when we talked about Crackdown, I was like, I want Crackdown so I can play the Halo 3 beta. And my mom was talking to him about it, and he's like, to be honest, man, like, and this was like the first week the beta had been out, and so he's like, the beta is kind of struggling, dude. He's like, it lags a lot and it crashes. I was like, I'm telling you, man, it's just not worth buying Crackdown to play it. And like, obviously this guy didn't like Halo as much as I did. I was like, I don't care if I get to play for 5 minutes. I'll pay $100 to play this beta. My mom was like, see, Garrett, it's not even worth it. It doesn't even work. And I was so sad because I never got to play the beta. And the beta actually changed. I mean, not a lot in the game, but like kind of like the graphical look and a couple of the minor details changed in the final game compared to the beta. But I remember watching just montages and hours and hours and hours of the beta, getting so pumped for it. And when Halo 3 came out, it like beyond went way above my expectations. Like campaign, probably my favorite shooter campaign of all time is Halo 3, and the competitive multiplayer I'll never forget. I still play Halo 3 to this day. Whenever Zach's over, we'll just hop on and play like 2 or 3 matches for like an hour or two. We'll still yell at the TV and get really frustrated. But I mean, I had I remember the day it came out. I was in 9th grade. I was a freshman in high school. It came out it was in September sometime, but I remember me and John Lowe, you know who John Lowe is a buddy of ours.
No, I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, so we knew the game was coming out. I knew my mom had picked it up while I was at school, and it was waiting for me when I got home. And I'll never forget this as long as I live. These 2 like really pretty girls that never talked to me and John for some reason. I think they're in one of our classes. They're like, hey, we're doing like a study thing at like Starbucks. You guys should meet us. Like these really pretty girls, and you think like freshman high school guys would be like, dude, pretty girls want to hang out with this man. But I remember not even phasing me. I was like, sorry, Halo 3's out. And he said the same thing. We went home and played Halo 3 all night long. And I'll never forget the first day playing that. And I think the first match I ever played in Halo 3 was on High Ground. And I remember that vividly. I think I went like, I'm not even kidding. I think I went like 12-6, and it was like my first Halo 3 match. I'll never forget those stats. And I remember that's when theater mode came out, and I took all these screenshots, and like literally my whole experience from Halo 3 from beginning all the way to like the end. I mean, it's still going on. I mean, you can still play Halo 3 online on 360 still, which is awesome. But up until the point where like years later, I mean, it came out in 2007. I mean, I played it for like 5 years, like nonstop, and I absolutely love that game. And the camp, and I'll never forget my favorite ending. I'm kind of going on too long about this. I'll make my other ones brief when I get to them. But I love Halo. I just gotta express that. I can't express that enough. But I'll never forget the coolest ending to any video game I've ever seen in my life is when you go through this journey as Master Chief from Halo 1 through 3 and just wreck the Covenant and just go through this epic journey, and all these crazy things happen, like this epic war, all this insanity, and then like when you're escaping what's that place called? I can't remember the name. People will be like, you don't like Halo? You can't even think of the name of your place you're escaping from.
Well, I don't know what it is.
It's like the final like Halo ring or something that it's blowing up in the end. You escape on the Warthog, and you and Arbiter are taking off, and I think it's the Pillar of Autumn, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure.
Or maybe it's Forward Unto Dawn.
It's
I probably sound like a total like idiot right now, but you're escaping, the ship gets broken off, and Arbiter...
the Starship Enterprise.
That's exactly... No, it's the Millennium Falcon, actually.
That's it.
Yeah, that's the one. Anyway, your ship gets split in 2, and Arbiter makes it back to the portal, but Master Chief gets left behind. And like I'll never forget, like the game ends, and like it makes you think that Master Chief is dead. And like Arbiter's talking to like, I can't remember his name either. You guys are gonna kill me. No, that's not Halsey. That's the woman who created Cortana. The main general guy of the UNSC that you're talking to him at the end. There's like a memorial for all the soldiers fallen, and like you can see the Covenant ship out in the sky, and Arbiter's talking to him. And the guy's like, the general's talking to Arbiter, and Arbiter's like 10 feet tall compared to him. And the guy's like, because like the Covenant joined sides with the humans, and they became like allies by the end of Halo 3. And then the general's talking to Arbiter. He's like,
breed babies and stuff.
Yeah, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
But he was like, I'll never be able to forgive you for what your kind did to mine. He's like, but you have my thanks. And they shake hands, and then the general's like, hard to believe he's dead. And he's like making a reference to Master Chief. I was like, how did he? Because it doesn't explain until the end of the credits what happened. You're like, is Master Chief dead? And I'll never forget Arbiter's like, words so easy. Something. I was like, that's like his catchphrase. I'm like, that's so cool. Anyway, credits roll. You see Master Chief's like floating around the ship like, Cortana, what happened? And she's like, we got split off. And she's like, we're gonna have to send out like a beacon, and it could be like a while before people find us, years even. And Master Chief, I'll never forget, this is like the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. This is when he's like the ultimate badass. He's like been through absolute hell. He knows he's a badass when he puts his gun in the rack. And like Halo 1, you start off waking up out of cryo sleep, and the very last moment of Halo 3, he gets back into his cryo sleep tube, and it closes, and she's like, I'll miss you. And he just looks at her, and he's like, wake me when you need me. And just like this epic music, and it pans out. He's like goes back into cryo sleep, and it's like, I'll never forget how cool that was. I'll stop talking about Halo 3 now. Love it. That's my number 5.
Wow, that's your number. I can't imagine what you're going to say about your number 1.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Give me one honorable mention. That didn't quite make the list.
Sorry, I'm crunching my eyes, so I forgot that's really obnoxious in the mic. I think I'll start with my first honorable mention as, oh man, I have a few.
Just give me one.
I'm just going to say I'm not going to talk much about them, but I'm going to say my first one's Super Mario World. This is the first game I ever played on Super Nintendo, and that's forever my favorite Mario game. I played a ton of Mario games.
Super Mario World for the SNES?
Yes, and that's my favorite Mario game of all time. I'll never forget that.
Well, my number 5, We kind of debated this. I'm not going to talk about it too much because I think we kind of need to skip through these a little bit faster than that.
Yeah, sorry.
It's all right.
That might have ruined the podcast.
I enjoyed your story a lot.
Thanks.
I'm sure the viewers did as well.
I hope so.
If not, please tell us if you didn't.
Yeah, I'll never do that again.
I enjoyed it though. I'm gonna say number 5 right now is The Witcher 3, and I don't know if that's just because I'm still infatuated with it, but I think that game is gonna have a long-term, effect on me, and I can tell as I'm playing it right now that forever that's gonna be one of my top games of all time.
I can certainly understand.
And I'm gonna put that at number 5,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna recap every single thing I've said in every video from The Witcher as to why I love this game right now. Just kidding. If you don't know why I love The Witcher by now, there's several videos to where you can actually read that. My first honorable mention is Skyrim and Oblivion. Now, some people would be like, why isn't that one of your best games of all time if you're such an RPG dude? Well, I just didn't feel like it belonged there. So shut up. I do love that game.
I'm unsubscribing. You guys suck. I hate you.
That's in my top 10 though, for sure. But I think in
terms of top 5,
I would probably put Skyrim at like number 6, probably. Freaking love that game, and I'll do Oblivion too because I love them like equally, like they're my children. I love them both. But anywho, yeah, that's just kind of how I feel about it. I don't want to go into like a freaking thesis as to why it doesn't belong in my top 5, but I still love the game regardless. What's your number 4?
Number 4 is Red Dead Redemption.
Fantastic game.
Yeah, that's easily one of my favorites.
That is in my honorable mentions.
Because I also obviously I enjoyed GTA, but Red Dead was a whole new beast, dude. When you just like open world in the Wild West and like all the I can't even name all the things you could do in that game, and like all the mini things, all the random events, all the quests, all the characters are just phenomenal.
Just the story.
The story was incredible.
Crap.
Yeah,
so good. That game is one of the best stories ever, best endings ever.
Yeah, and that isn't even an RPG, but it's an open world, like big open world experience, and like that open western world was just amazing. And the rumor has it that obviously they're going to make a Red Dead sequel at some point.
There some news was going about this, the Rockstar Studio, and it's pretty much confirmed that they're working on it right now.
And I'll be thrilled when we hear something about that because I love
Next gen Red Dead.
Yeah,
that game's freaking awesome. My number 4 is Call of Duty 4. As of now, I am not a big Call of Duty fan at all.
Right.
I'm like a very fan of Call of Duty. Call of Duty 4, though, changed my entire perspective on video games as a whole. I've always loved video games, but Call of Duty 4, just its online just was insane to me. I never knew that when I thought of online gaming, I just thought it was super nerdy and stuff until I played this game, and it just blew my mind. Like I got my 30-year-old uncle into this game, and he played the first night I told him about it. He called me the next morning. He was like, I just played this all freaking night because of how freaking awesome it is. Yes, Call of Duties are redundant now and stuff, but at the time that game was amazing, and I will forever remember the late nights we had in Call of Duty 4 because
playing Team Tact.
Oh yeah, they're the best competitive shooter nights that I'll ever have for the rest of my life.
Oh, absolutely.
Until something else comes out. Hopefully something
nothing lives up to those gaming memories I have.
I don't know if it's just because we were younger as well or something, but I've never had the same feeling playing a competitive shooter as I did with Call of Duty 4 because I wasn't into Halo. I mean, I like Halo, I respect Halo, but I wasn't as into that as I was into Call of Duty 4.
And that also came out the same year as Halo 3, 2007.
Yes.
I remember jumping between those two games. That was awesome.
Yep. Now, what is your, I'll give I said Red Dead was one of my honorable mentions, but another one is The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. Next to Ocarina of Time, which will be in this list later, for me, of course. Twilight Princess is my second favorite Zelda game, which is a little bit controversial because I know that one's not considered one of the best, but I freaking love that game. I got it on launch day with my Wii, and it just hit me the right way, so I just loved it. I know people complain about the slow beginning and stuff, and I mean, that I don't know. I mean, I guess if it's too slow for you, whatever, but I loved it. It's, Link's a rancher, and you have to ranch like all these sheep and stuff. I don't know. I love it. I think it's the charm to the game, and I freaking love that game, so that's one of my honorable mentions. Now, what's your number 3?
Number 3 for me is Skyrim. I know that was one of your honorable mentions, but
it's still a fantastic game.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you have a lot of open world games on this game. Actually, in fact, all of them but Halo on my list are all open world games. I guess I just have a place in my heart for open world RPGs, especially. Did the video stop?
Yeah, but we're still talking.
Yeah, that's okay. We still got audio for the time being, at least.
Sorry, we're using my camera, and it doesn't have quite as many gigabytes available
as Jacob's.
Yeah. So.
But I love Skyrim. like we said, and we said this when the game came out too, over time, is that it completely surpassed my expectations as well. I mean, I hadn't watched much prior to the game releasing, but I'll never forget just like I have countless memories of just different quests and different random events and like places I discovered and just like things I experienced playing that game, and that's easily one of my favorite games. But two quick honorable mentions, since I forgot to do an honorable mention last time. Another one would be Mega Man X, originally on Super Nintendo. I mean, I played different versions of it throughout time, like on PSP and stuff. But I love Mega Man X. That's I mean, I've only played like 3 or 4 Mega Mans my whole life, but that one's easily my favorite. That and Tony Hawk's American Wasteland is my favorite Tony Hawk game of all time. I've loved. I mean, I haven't played every single one. I played every Tony Hawk up through Project 8, and then I think Tony Hawk Ride came after that. Is that
you
the
didn't
one?
play that one. That
Obviously
was the one with
not.
the skateboard.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that game sucks.
And I think one more came out after that. I can't remember what it was, but I didn't play Ride, but I only played Project 8 for like 3 hours. I kind of got bored of it really fast. But American Wasteland came after
Underground was my jam.
Yeah, I was gonna say Underground I love too. Underground 1 and 2 were really good, and then Wasteland came out. I don't know what it was about Wasteland that I like more than Underground, but I just remember it was like open world in like Los Angeles, and like you had to build your own custom skate park as the story progressed, and like you could go to like different clothing stores and shoe stores and skateboard stores, and that was like I think that was the first game I recall like customizing a character in a game, and I thought that was so cool. Yeah. And I remember that being my favorite Tony Hawk game. So
cool. My number 3 is The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, which at a time was my number 1 game of all time for years and years and years, until I recently played it again on the 3DS, and it was still one of my favorite games I've ever played. But I think as time has gone on, I enjoy 2 more games, and I love that game. But I think that'll always have just probably, even though it's not my favorite game, I don't even know if this makes sense. That's like just still, I want to say it's still my number 1 game, but it's not my number 1 game. Yeah. It's like nostalgic wise, that's my number 1 game. But when I technically think about like the games that I've been most memorable to me, that's not, but it's still in my top 5. At number 3, freaking love that game. I've already talked about it.
How many times have you played through that again?
I've beaten that game more than any other game I've ever beaten. I've beaten
like
that
at
game.
least over 10 times, right?
At least. Since a kid, I've just beaten that. I think I've beaten that game at least once or twice a year in my entire life. Wow. I'm not even joking. Yeah. Especially having the collector's edition on GameCube, and I can just whip it out and play it. Yeah. Especially when it came to I've beaten it 3 times on 3DS. Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Another honorable mention is Final Fantasy XIV, my favorite MMO of all time. I freaking love that game.
The one you were playing recently on PS4, right?
Yes.
Recently as in like probably a year ago now, right?
Yes.
Or sometime around there.
I kind of got off playing it, and I keep wanting to get back onto it, but games keep coming out. But I know in the back of my head, I freaking love that game. Yeah. And I just kind of wanted to throw a different game on here. But MMO-wise, that is hands down my favorite MMO I've ever played. That game just sucked my life out when I played it. So freaking love that game. So what's your number 2?
Number 2, I believe you and me are on equal grounds here, but number 2 is Fallout 3 for me.
Fallout 3 as well for me, and I believe we have talked about that quite a bit.
We have in multiple podcasts. I mean, I guess we won't say too much about it, but
it's my favorite
open world RPG
I've
easily.
Ever played. Yeah.
And that includes like the setting, the gameplay, all the like RPG elements of it. The world is incredible. And there's something about that game. It's something about all Bethesda games. There's just some kind of magical charm to them that I just can't put my finger on. But
same with Skyrim has that too. But this game just when you exit that vault, it's on. Dang. Yeah. That game's insane.
Yeah. So hopefully Fallout 4 will be our number 1 or number 2 down the road. 10 years from now, I hope Fallout 4 is on our list.
I hope so. Stay tuned for that episode.
Yeah.
Give me one more honorable mention.
What have I not mentioned? I'll do 2 quick ones because I won't really comment on much of them. But and also I got to correct this real quick. I said earlier about Super Mario World is the first game I ever played on Super Nintendo. That's a complete lie. It's the second game I played on Super Nintendo. The first one I ever played was
Filthy liar.
It was like that Marvel Spider-Man X-Men game.
That was my first game I've ever played too. That is really weird that our 2 first games ever were the same game.
Yeah, that was the first game I ever played.
I didn't even know you when I played that.
Yeah, I know, and that's strange.
That's so weird.
That was the first. Super Mario World was the second. My other favorite Super Nintendo game was Donkey Kong Country.
That's a good.
And I know you can play that on Wii U now. There's like a 3D version of it now, isn't there?
There's Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, Donkey Kong Country Returns,
something like that. But the original,
that's what they are.
Yeah, original Donkey Kong Country. I love that game as well, so that's one of them. And then another one would be on GameCube is Animal Crossing.
Ah,
Did you think about that?
I did not, because I would not even put that on my top 20 list.
Could you? Is that is that technically considered an RPG or no? Is it just kind of like a world?
It's like a life simulator.
Yeah, it's like you do.
I guess
you
it's an
accomplish
RPG,
nothing. I mean, you talk to your
guess.
friends, you plant trees, you can.
At the time, from that game was so different, I was just like infatuated by it.
Oh, me too. When I was a kid, that was the greatest thing I'd ever experienced in my life.
Just 'cause it was so different.
And as simple as this is now, looking back on it, I was like absolutely mind blown at the fact that you could stick in your memory card and then I could transfer my character from my town into your town
I could
and
take
like
your fruit and stuff
and look at your town and take your fruit and plant it in my town. So I was like,
we
oh my gosh.
We couldn't even play with each other, but I could just watch you go into my house and it was just like,
dude, I was like, where are you? You're not home. You're like, I don't know. I'm probably at work or something. But yeah, Animal Crossing is one of my honorable mentions. I love playing that game. I played it for who knows how many hours.
That's a good game. I probably don't think I'd put it that much at the top, but that is a fantastic game.
Mm-hmm.
My number one pick is probably not very creative or anything, but it is a game that's made me feel unlike any other game I've ever played. And when if somebody ever asked, if I had a non-gamer come up to me and they were like, show me what video games are, I would throw this in my PlayStation and be like, feast your eyes on this. Is The Last of Us. I love that game. I've never had, like I said, I've never had a game that made me feel the way that game made me feel. The gameplay is superb. It is so brutal. It is so like, it just reflects the game's story. The gameplay reflects the game's story and setting brilliantly. The story is just so mature and adult. The setting is just so gross and brutal as the gameplay is. That game just does not F around. It is just hardcore. The first 10 minutes, I remember I paused the game.
I'll never forget that.
Me and Garrett were playing separate rooms, and what happens at the beginning when it happens, I paused the game and just walked in there and watched Garrett play it, and I just like looked at you and I was like, what the heck was that? Like, I've never had a game that made me just like want to cry in the first like 15 minutes of the game.
Yeah, that's very powerful.
The ending is the best ending. It is so just dreary and just real. That ending is so real. It's not a happy ending, it's not a sad ending, it's just it's real life. It's so good. It's that people, I think the only reason you would not like the ending is if you didn't understand the ending, because I remember people had complaints with the Red Dead Redemption's ending because it was very not happy and stuff, and I feel like that's, I don't know, I don't know. If you didn't like the ending, then whatever. I just feel like you don't really understand. And if you do, then we have different opinions. But I feel like that game is just the perfect ending for that game. It was absolutely perfect.
Right.
So, what's your number one? Oh, my last honorable mention is Arkham City, the best superhero game ever made until next month. Yeah. When Arkham Knight comes out. Yeah. So,
that's a good segue for me.
City. Yeah. What's yours?
I don't know. My number one game of all time that I've had the most fun, and we base this top 5 on the most fun we've had playing video games. And
like we said at the beginning, even though the best games of all time, I would still put The Last of Us there. Yeah. In my opinion.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If this was like the best games we think of all time, like our top 5 best games, The Last of Us would be number one for me too. But I based it on terms of how much fun I've had. Yeah. But Batman Arkham City is definitely my number one, because that was a game where you actually got that before I did. You had it like weeks before I did, and you're like, dude,
you got it for Christmas, didn't you?
I did. I was waiting to get it for Christmas.
And I was just telling you, I was like, this game is insane.
Yeah, and I loved Arkham Asylum, and I was like very excited to play it. But I remember playing it for the first time, and like I loved every single moment of that game. I love the story. I love all the characters, all the surprises, all the Easter eggs, all the and like that's truly, like, they weren't kidding. They advertised it as be the Batman. Yeah. And I think they're doing the same slogan for Arkham City or Arkham Knight too. But I mean, you truly live up to that slogan, because I truly felt like Batman. I mean, I can't quite put my finger on every single little detail why I love that game, but I've had an obsession with Batman since I was like an infant. That's just a really good thing. That's a good slogan, and that's a good way to say why you love the game. Yeah, because I mean, you truly are the Batman. Like and I think that, I mean, I've always been obsessed with Batman my entire life. I mean, I was obsessed to the point when I was a little kid. I would literally put my Batman cape and like my makeshift costume I put together to be Batman in my parents' car everywhere we went, just in case crime happened. I could like whip out my costume and beat him up as a little kid, and I believe that I could truly do that. And I did that for years, and I think I was Batman for like 7 years in a row for Halloween. Like, any moment I got to be Batman, I would be Batman. And Arkham City came along, I loved it, but then Arkham City just like completely just like did it perfectly for me. And
Arkham Asylum came along,
Is that what I said?
You said Arkham City twice.
Yeah, Arkham Asylum, then Arkham City, obviously. Yeah. But Arkham City is easily my favorite. Super excited for Arkham Knight, and despite I think they've advertised the game way too much because they announced it way too early, I'm still excited about it. But
I've heard guys that have actually played the game demos and giving their impressions on it, and they're saying it's freaking awesome. And I know you're a little skeptic about the dual play thing, but I've heard nothing but amazing things about it. It's very, like I said, my guess in the podcast is what it actually is. There is only certain events when there's like 50 dudes coming at you when you need a little bit of help to kick butt. Nightwing will fly in and you can switch back and forth between the two. So it's not like you're playing the entire game like that. So I would rest easy about it because I've heard it is freaking amazing. Right. So yeah, I'm pumped for Arkham Knight, and Arkham City is a great game.
Yeah, it's my favorite. Last honorable mention I won't even say much about. It's just my favorite action game of all time is Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers on PS2.
Good choice.
I love that game.
That game occupied a ton of my
love the movie, love the trilogy.
Years.
And I love that game. I remember playing just the absolute crap out of that Lord of the Rings game. So
my last honorable mention is Bloodborne. I love that game.
That's a great one too.
So good.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
I love
that game. So good.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I love that game. So good. I know these games are like kind of brand new, but like I would not put that as one of the best games ever made. But as far as my favorites, I freaking love that game. I know we've like said that a million times, putting the differences between the two, but whatever. Just reinstating it. But anywho, I think that'll do it for the obvious gaming podcast. This is 15, right?
Yes, this is 15, and 15 is our. What was I going to say?
15th one.
That's essentially what I was going to say. It's our 15th podcast, and this is easily our longest podcast. So,
is it really?
It is.
And isn't that hilarious because it's just us two?
I know. I think it's just the content we had to talk about today was easily discussable. Is that a word? Discussable?
Discussable, yeah.
Okay.
And your 40-minute discussion of Halo 3.
Yeah, that'll probably be a podcast. We could have just talked about Halo for a podcast, but yeah, I enjoyed it. We had some good topics today.
That was good. I kind of like this little just chat. We were just
and I like using the two mics. Hopefully, technology will not crap out on us. Yeah, I certainly hope it does.
I hope so. Or it's probably going to sound so good. It's the worst sounding one yet.
Yeah.
It's like popping going on the entire thing.
Yeah. I hope not.
I hope not too.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we can just use one of the mics if that happens.
That's true.
It pick me up as well.
Yeah.
Or you. But I think that'll do it. I would love to hear what your top 5 games are in the comments below. Your top 5 favorite games. So please let me know.
Also tell us why you play them.
Yeah, write just a novel for us. We'll read every bit of it and we'll comment. And we'll pick anybody that does it. We'll give your entire channel a shout out to 500 of our subscribers.
Yeah, seriously. Seriously, I mean, we totally want to be invested with communicating with you guys and kind of like doing a little community because we think that'd be awesome. We've said that in every podcast, and hopefully one day it'll happen.
Be sure to subscribe because once we eventually get somewhere, I want to be doing like giveaways and stuff. I'll get a freaking gift card and send it to you if you stay involved with us and stuff like that. I would
love community topics too. I'm totally down for that.
Absolutely. We'll get there one day. But yeah, if you want to be in there before everybody else is there, go ahead and
join the club early. It's exclusive.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah.
So, all right. Well, I had an absolute pleasure talking to you. And next week, I'm sure we'll have Jacob here as well. And if he somehow can't, it'll just be us two again.
Yep.
So
always look forward to it.
Absolutely.
It was an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely. So I guess we guys will see you next week on the It's Obvious Gaming Podcast. Have a fantastic day.
Certainly. See ya.